Artillery tutorial number 2. It's dealing with artillery spotting when tagging along with an infantry unit. First thing I'd like to go on, you might have noticed on the first video, is why I didn't bother using GPS. GPS is really good, it's probably the best method there is. Just give a quick demonstration. GPS says we're at 124068, which is right there. Just place a map marker anywhere. Go back to first person, call up the minimap. You can see the map marker on the minimap. All we have to do is run over to it and stand right on top of it. And just by doing that, we've established a really accurate datum to call artillery from. You can call artillery out to far as you can see, 4Ks, 5Ks, no problems. And get it within a 5 metre radius, no worries at all. So this method's the fastest, most accurate and most flexible method there is. The only problem with it though is what happens if you don't have a GPS. And if you use GPS as your exclusive means of artillery spotting, you're going to be in a spot of bother when one's not supplied. So it's prudent to assume that you're never going to get a GPS unit. Okay, some pointers to remember. When dealing with infantry, they're always on the move, they never remain static for very long, so you're not going to get enough time to triangulate your position, so you can just forget about doing that. So we're going to rely on these two methods as a general practice that we constantly do when you're an artillery officer. These are basically 80% of your job. The first part is to always monitor your position. Just using dead reckoning is good enough. I know I'm to the east of the hamlet here. Just eyeballing it, I'm probably about 100 metres away, so I'm probably right here somewhere. And that's as close as you need to get. I'm looking at the centre building. You do this constantly. You know what direction you're facing in, facing west, and I know how far away I am from the hamlet. The second point to constantly do is always identify reference features on the map. In this case I'm going to use this building here, the centre building on the eastern side. I'm going to actually mark it up and we call it A. I use numbers to denote very accurate reference points. I use letters just to denote a reference feature that's of interest. And that's going to be our reference building for fixing our position if we need to in a hurry. So we keep moving up, running towards the west. I'm sitting on the eastern side of this building now. I'm going to head off to the northwest and go through this gap between the centre building and the northern building. You're constantly monitoring your position. I know I'm between the centre and north building, and I'm to the south a little bit of this little shack here. If we look in the map, I'm right in this position here. And just by using dead reckoning, constantly monitoring the position, we've fixed our position pretty accurately already without pulling out the laser. Our tasking is to push over to the western side and the northwestern side and clear this open area before moving on. Like I said, it's rising ground away from us and fairly clear. So if I go over to this western building here and look around the corner, I should be able to see the whole area pretty well. I can anticipate a problem already. If we push into this area, I might lose line of sight to my reference building. So anticipate that. I'm going to turn the western building into a reference as well. Call it B. So I've got two reference buildings I can use now, so we can cover both sides of the street. Now just before crossing over, we just clear our arcs, make sure there's no baddies. And I can spot a tank already. It's off to our northwest, and it's, judging by that handrail there, it's right beside the road, facing away. So we'll just cross over here first. To the northwest by the road, it's probably up here somewhere. We just scoot around to the northeastern corner of our building. Just see if we can see the tank, and yes we can. I'm on the northeastern corner of our building. We can use that as a datum point. So we put a green dot, call it number 1, put our compass on it, and now we're ready to take a range and bearing. As long as we're standing on this corner, we know our position quite accurately. We take a range, turn the laser off, 5159 at 275, go to our map, let's set up our ruler, just like we did in the first tutorial, 59, and it's right there, and 275, which is right there. And that's it, we've placed our artillery. That's probably within a couple of metres. Good points about this method is it's very quick and it's very accurate. You can shoot artillery out as far as you can see using this method, and it will be within a 5 metre radius, no problems at all. It's also relatively easy to do. The problems with it though is you need good features right beside you in order to do it, so it only tends to work in an urban environment. Normally in open ground there's not many features to use where you can stand right beside it. You'd be pretty lucky if you do, but it's a good quick way if you're in a city or something like that. The second feat method is a variation of this, and this is in case we lose line of sight of our target when we're on our reference point. I'm walking up this dirt road, probably towards the west or west by northwest, and I can see to the northwest or west by northwest our target, and I can see I've walked about, I don't know, probably about 20 metres away from the building. Buildings to our east. So what we can do on the, just get rid of the ruler. What we can do is we can put a reference point on the northwest corner, which is the corner closest to us, call it number 2, put our compass on it, and what we're going to do is fix our position from that reference point. Because the building's so close, it's inherently going to be very accurate when we take our shot. So our to the corner of the building is 1205 and our range is 25, so pretty close. So let's set up our position, and 1205, just about there, and our range is 25, which is the first graduation. Now we put our compass on our fixed position, and now we're ready to shoot the tank. Okay, 5264 and 245 metres. Fix our ruler on our position, first anchor point, and second point is 5264. 246 is right there, and our range is 245, which is just short of the green graduation. And there you have it. I didn't really put it, just put it on a bit more accurately. There we are. And you can see the map markers are pretty much on top of each other. Gives us an idea of how accurate we are. This method is just a little bit slower and quite flexible. You only need one reference and one bearing and range to take a fix. The problem with it though is you're putting an awful lot of trust into one bearing and range fix. If you misidentify your building, that can make your position fix very inaccurate. Any obstructions on the laser beam will give you a bad rangefinder reading and can lowball you. Things like that. Also, because you're only taking one bearing line and a range, the further away you are from your reference building, the more inaccurate it's going to be. So if you're about 500 metres away from that building and your target is say a kilometre away, you're starting to stretch it a little bit. Most likely, if you're careful, you should be able to get your rounds on target, but the further away you are, basically the more careful you're going to have to be using this method. If your infantry decides to take a breather for a minute, you can always triangulate your position just as you're sitting around doing nothing, and that will help you a lot in case you need to employ artillery straight away. And that includes infantry artillery spotting part 2. Part 3 will be made soon.